These are my way too early predictions for Major 2. I went through all the qualifiers as well as built out my own bracket to try and predict the entirety of the stage 2. So obviously this is going to end up being very, very wrong. But if you like seeing this type of CDL content, definitely sub to the channel. We are almost at 4K subs, so thank you all for the support. And if you are watching this not when I recorded this, just so you know, I recorded it and posted this before Major 2 qualifiers even started. So literally all I know is the roster moves. I don't know how these teams are going to perform. So like I said, this is probably going to be very, very wrong. But we're going to start it out. We'll go with the standings to start, and we'll start from the bottom, work our way to the top. Starting off with the teams that will only get one win. There is only one team coming in at number 12. I do have the Las Vegas Legion. They traded out Standy in favor of Geo from Challengers. I don't really know exactly what to expect from Geo. I'm hoping he looked really, really good, but I still just don't know if this Legion team looks like they're going to be that great. I've seen their scrims against the likes of FaZe Black, and they're losing a lot of maps against Challengers teams. So definitely not a great look, but at the end of the day, they're pros. They got a Tatch on the team, a guy who I think is really, really good. And I could see them, you know, getting a couple more wins, but right now I have them at 12. Now to talk about the 2-win teams. Now there's a bunch of these in here. So we'll start out. Number 11, I have the Seattle Surge. If you see me to look into the size, because that's where I have everything written down. Number 10, I have the LA Thieves. 9, I have the Boston Breach. And 8, I have the Ravens. All 4 of these teams coming in with 2 wins and then being separated based on their map win percentage. And then just to touch on each team real quick, Surge at 11. I think Surge are going to be solid. Obviously, they got rid of their best player in Illy. They removed him to bring in Brezzy. We don't know exactly the means behind or why they decided to do that decision. They haven't really came out with any public statement. But I hope Brezzy's good. I think this guy is going to be solid. But I think just Surge maybe had a little bit of a tough schedule. Then at number 10, I do have my LA Thieves. I actually think the LA Thieves are going to be much better this stage than they were last stage, but still only at 2 and 5. I think at the end of the day, the Thieves have the hardest Major 2 qualifiers schedule. They play a lot of really, really great teams. I think they play like all the top 4 teams. So pretty unfortunate for my guys, but I do think they're still going to come out with 2 wins. Then at number 9, Boston Breach, another team with 2 wins. I actually have Boston and LAT both at a 13 and 18 map count. But Boston takes the tiebreaker, I guess, is kind of how it would work. I think Boston's going to look good with ASIM, but I think it's another similar thing here. Maybe just not really the schedule's all there for Boston. Then at 8, I have the Ravens, another team at 2 and 5, but them with 1 less map loss at 13 and 17 for their map wins. I think the Ravens, we kind of know what to expect from them because they're sticking with the same team we saw at Major 1. And overall, I just think, you know, the upper echelon teams are just so much better. Now to talk about the 3-win teams, there are 2 of them. So at number 7, I have LAG, and at number 6, I have the Miami Heretics. I think both of these teams are, you know, the kind of your middle of the pack sort of teams. LAG or Heretics obviously made a roster change, bringing in Eric Boom for Journey. We'll see how that plays out. I kind of think Eric Boom is going to be really good, but we will end up seeing how that goes. But both of these teams, I think kind of settling in the middle of the pack makes a lot of sense. Then for our 4 wins teams, there's only one team I predict with 4 wins, and that is the Minnesota Rocker coming in as the 5th seed. I think the Rocker are once again going to be a good team. I think, you know, Awakening should only get better as the year progresses, right? That's what I would like to think, at least, is that he should get more comfortable and get a little bit better as time goes on. I think Linz is going to keep getting better and better and better. So I do think this Rocker team looks like they're going to be solid. Every time I predict them to lose, they win. So I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt here and make them 4 and 3 5th seed. Now for our 5-win teams, there are 2 of them. I have NYSL at 4 and OPTIC at 3. I think both of these teams are definitely going to have a good online stage. NYSL obviously disappointing on land, but I think they're really going to bounce back and going to have a much better Major 2. I think that's going to be a one-off event for them where they kind of, you know, have that top 12 bottom placing. And then OPTIC, I think, is going to just continue to be a top 3 team. But for me, it's too hard to not predict these 2 teams as 1 and 2 because I just think FaZe and Ultra are on a different level from everybody else. But I do have Ultra at 2nd seed and FaZe at the 1 seed. I have FaZe going 7-0 again in online qualifiers. FaZe and Ultra do face off during this Major 2 qualifiers. And I have FaZe beating them online. I think this is another one of those cases where maybe FaZe are more comfortable online. I think Ultra maybe go into the match like, we beat them twice on LAN. We could definitely take them, maybe get a little bit caught off guard, and then lose to FaZe online. I don't think this means FaZe is better than them. I think this is just a case of maybe that little bit of online cheese, a little bit of different mentality. So I do have FaZe going 7-0 to go into Major 2 as the 1 seed. So now to talk about the bracket for Major 2. I believe I set this up properly. I just looked at previous brackets and slotted in the seeds based on where they were in previous ones. So it would be FaZe versus Ravens, NYSL versus Rocker, OPTIC versus Heretics, and Ultra versus LAG in the winners round 1 matches. So obviously a couple rematches in there, NYSL, Rocker, OPTIC, Heretics. And then, so I do have FaZe, New York, OPTIC, and Ultra, so the top 4 teams essentially winning those matches. I think, you know, Rocker obviously could be good for an upset. Maybe we see a team like Heretics beat OPTIC, but I went with the way of the top 4 teams. Then that means the losers round 1 matches would be Ravens versus Breach, Rocker versus Legion, Heretics versus Thieves, and Gorillas versus Surge. I think these matches could all be really good. For Ravens Breach, I'm going to go the way of Boston. I think that, you know, Ravens obviously were better at Major 1. I think bringing in ASIM is going to make this Breach team just that much better, help them get over the likes of Ravens. Then for Rocker Legion, going Minnesota, obviously. I just don't think that's much of a surprise. Then for Heretics, LA Thieves, fan bias coming in here. I'm going LAT. I think LAT is going to be much better at Major 2, like I said, than we saw at Major 1. And I think Heretics go out top 12 once again. And then for Gorillas Surge, I do have the Gorillas taking that. I can see Surge winning it, of course, but Gorillas have been pretty consistent this season, so I'm going to give it to them. Then for losers round 2 matches, we have Breach versus Rocker, and I'm going with the Minnesota Rocker. Like I said, I predict them to lose, and they always win, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm giving them the win over Breach. Then we have the Battle of LA, one that has always went the way of LAG, and I'm still going LAT. And like I said, this is just fan bias at the end of the day. I mean, you could pick Gorillas here. It doesn't really make a difference. Obviously, we'll see if these teams end up even playing each other and this bracket ends up being right, which I highly doubt it will be. But I'm going LAT because why not? Back to winners round 2 matches. We have FaZe New York and OPTIC versus Ultra. I'm going FaZe and Ultra in these matches. I think the top 2 teams prevail on land for sure. Then we drop down to losers round 3 matches where we have OPTIC, Rocker, and New York LA Thieves. And I'm going OPTIC and New York. I think those are both just the better teams, which means that I think my top 4 at Major 2, based on these predictions, is FaZe, Ultra, OPTIC, New York. The top 4 teams on paper, I think, get that first top 4 placing as a grouping in Major 2 here. And then the way I see this panning out is Ultra beats FaZe to go into the grand finals. And then OPTIC beats New York. FaZe versus OPTIC for top 2. And I have OPTIC beating FaZe to make the finals versus the Toronto Ultra. Maybe a little bit of surprise. I think OPTIC are going to get better as this season progresses, as we've always seen with teams that have Kenny on it. And yeah, I have FaZe going out top 3, NYSL going out top 4, with an OPTIC Ultra grand finals. And I'm going Toronto Ultra. I mean, you know, I think Toronto Ultra at this point in time, based on what we saw at Major 1, are far and away the best team. I mean, they're the best team in 2 out of 3 game modes, maybe even all 3 game modes. So it's just too hard to not predict them, right? Maybe that's the boring pick, but I'm going to give it to Toronto Ultra in this way too early predictions for Major 2. Let me know what you think about this prediction. Maybe I'll do this again for Major 3. I thought this would be fun. I wanted to put something out content-wise and just kind of talk about what I think could happen. Like I said, this is way too early. I'm recording, editing, and posting this on February 13th. So we haven't seen any Major 2 matches yet. We haven't seen any of these new teams, new rosters play. So this could very well be the most wrong prediction you will ever see. But that's the fun of being a fan of a sport or esport, is making predictions and being right or wrong. Typically wrong, obviously, as it tends to go. But let me know what you think about this. Give me your hot take for Major 2, whether it be a dark horse team you think is going to make a run, a really good team you think is going to flop. Just put some sort of a prediction down in the comments. I want to see who's got the best ones. And with all that being said, like I said, sub to the channel for more CDL content. Hopefully, I'll see you all in the next video.